Hello, Degrassi fans, and welcome to the Degrassi Kid podcast, where each week we break down the history and impact of our favorite teen TV show. I'm Jocelyn, and this week we're getting a unique perspective as we check in with one of the adults on Degrassi. Melissis played Mr. Perino for 17 seasons, handing out detention, sending you to the principal's office, and writing that big fat F on your midterm paper. Mr. Perino has seen it all, from breaking up catfights and having drunk kids in class to watching a student realize they have gonorrhea. Some of the most dramatic moments on Degrassi happened right in Mr. Perino's classroom. So let's see what the real-life actor thinks about all this drama as we sit down with Melissis on the Degrassi Kid podcast. But first, let's listen in as Mr. P handles some conflict when a student brings an unexpected guest to his classroom.
Is that a pig? It's poor Selena. A pig. Isn't she pretty? You brought a pig to school. Well, she'd be so lonely in that big condo by herself, and I'd never leave a friend alone.
That's good, because you probably should go home together.
But Mr. Perino, can you really kick this face out of class?
Fine, then stay, but I'm warning you, I have a hankering for bacon.
Tom, welcome to the Degrassi Kid podcast. How are you doing?
Oh my goodness, I'm doing pretty good. Wow, so glad to be here.
I'm happy to have you. There was a lot of excitement when I posted that the real Mr. Perino was going to be on our podcast. And I felt like a rock star because I was like, I just had to send him a Facebook message because we're all butts.
Oh, yeah. We go back a year.
Yeah, it's 12 months. I have to ask, before we even talk about Degrassi, what is it like to know that there's, you see all my Facebook ramblings of Degrassi. Mm-hmm. What is it like to know that there's a Degrassi fan out there that loves the show this much?
It's amazing. I mean, it makes you feel like, wow, this is this person has been impacted by the show in such a way. And I believe there's probably many more like you out there, which is awesome. It just makes us go, this is what it's all about. It's why we do it.
Oh, I was fully prepared for you to tell me that I'm crazy. So I love that.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but you're lovely.
Thank you. One of the amazing parts about having you on the podcast is I'm not even sure if you're aware that you're actually one of the longest running characters on the show, being on the show for 17 seasons. Stefan, of course, started as Snake back in the 80s and came back as a teacher and a principal. Mr. Armstrong, who's played by Michael Kinney, started in season 1 of The Next Generation. And then you were right behind him starting in season 2. And you're the only 3 who stayed on until Degrassi Next Class. Did you know that you're one of the longest running characters?
17 seasons. I didn't. I thought it was less than that, but it makes me feel much older. But thank you.
Yeah, you did season 2 to 14 of The Next Generation, and then you did 4 seasons of Degrassi Next Class.
Oh my. Yeah. Well, I taught history. My math is terrible.
With such a longevity on the show, was there ever a time you got a script and you were like, the Degrassi kids are doing what now?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the episode that you just played, the part about the little piglet. That one floored me. Originally, it was supposed to be a little piglet, but they couldn't get one, so they had to settle for a big one.
Oh my God.
Getting coffee spilled on me, getting Frappuccino thrown at me, having someone lactate in class, someone passed out drunk in the gymnasium. You mentioned catfights. It's just like I'm in the middle of it all, and I'm going, why hasn't this guy just quit and retired?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Whenever you get those scripts, do you ever get more context about why these things are happening? Or you just kind of show up and you're like, okay, this is what they're doing now?
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's what it was. I mean, I most of the time I'm blindsided. They just go, hey, can you do this? I go, okay, sure. Let's put egg on the face of Mr. Perino, and he deserves it because he's a grumpy guy.
He is. He goes through that character. I did something fun where I've seen every episode of Degrassi ever, but I thought I would watch just the episodes that Mr. Perino is in order. And you're right. Things jump around. There's going to be a pig. Someone's going to have a fight. Someone's going to throw up. And it was just so interesting to see how many things Mr. Perino puts up with. And I think that's why in season 2, he starts off very, he's educating the kids and inspiring them. And then by the end of it, he's just like, you're going to the office.
Oh, yeah. And I think a pivotal moment, it was that episode I did where suddenly Mr. Perino is a mean SOB.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea. That came out of left field. It was like a last minute thing. They said, oh, Tom, here, you're going to be featured in this script. And I read it. I said, why am I like that? And they said, well, I just felt weird. Like, did someone cancel? Did they have an actor who was going to play this mean guy and he canceled? And they said, let's get Perino in there. And the director just said, look, you're having a bad day. Your wife's pregnant. You're not getting sleep. And I was experiencing that, coincidentally. And he said, that's why you're mean. I said, oh, okay. So fine. And I was just, I didn't even like myself.
Interesting.
But yeah, then that's the pivotal moment, because after that episode, I was suspended and I thought, that's it. Perino's done.
Yeah.
Unless, and you know how they are with a season ending episode, something catastrophic happens. And I thought, they're bringing me back. I'm going to have bombs strapped to my body. I'm going to take out the whole school.
I'm very glad that didn't happen.
Oh, I'm glad too. But like, I was like, I'm done. But
Yeah.
then next, they brought me back and they had no explanation.
Yeah, it just comes back. It's
None whatsoever.
they don't even say anything like, oh, he went through counseling or anything. All of a sudden, he's just covering for Mr. Simpson in media immersion class.
That's
and then
it.
he's back.
Yeah, I came in and that's where the grumpy guy evolved.
Mhm.
Because part of me studied method acting, and I thought, well, if no one's going to explain to me what's happening, then you don't care about Perino, so I don't care about you.
Yeah.
So I became this really like, whatever, here's your assignment, good luck, I'm out of here. And the writers picked up on that. They said, we like this guy because we love hating him, and let's throw things at him. Let's spill coffee on him. Let's have a character daydreaming she's in a Broadway musical.
Mhm.
Let's do everything just to see if that grumpy guy can break down. And I began to go, hey, I'm writing this. This is fun. And I loved it.
I love that. That is incredible, because Joey on Patreon had submitted that question. He said, did you think that my job was over? And you absolutely did. You thought this is the end of Degrassi.
I said, yeah, that's it.
Wow. Sierra on Patreon wanted to know, we know so much information about what it's like to be a kid on Degrassi. You get your scripts, you have these big group discussions. What is it like to be an adult actor on Degrassi who comes in every once in a while? Do you have those big rehearsal moments? How early in advance do you get the script? That kind of thing.
No, I feel like an abandoned child, because we, as a teacher, and Linda always said, it's all about the kids, Tom, and I got that.
Yeah.
So they would, they give me 2 weeks, 3 weeks notice, say, are you available between this time and this time? Because you appear in an episode. And I go, oh, yeah. And then we'd wait. And sometimes it would be like 3 days before, and they go, okay, you're confirmed. Or, oh, sorry, we wrote you out.
Oh, wow.
So then I'd show up and I'd go, okay, I'm here. Let's do it. So that's how, no read through, no rehearsal. Nothing.
Wow. And then you just show up and do it. There's so many, because since I went through and watched all your episodes, there was sometimes that literally you can just see your torso walk in and then you say a line. And I'm like, that could have probably been anybody and just been ADR, but they made you come in and do those moments just for those even little things.
Yeah. And that, that's probably why I lasted so long, because I remember talking to Mr. Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
He had said that, and other people on the crew would say there have been some teachers who couldn't handle that.
Mm.
They wanted some heavy direction. They wanted, what's going on? What's the motivation here? The motivation was just give the lesson and get out of there.
Yeah.
And I got the hang of it, because I just show up and go, hey, all right, the French Canada, Quebec Revolution, blah, blah, blah. See you later. I'm out of here getting my coffee. I'm done. And they'd love me. I just show up for 4 lines and be gone. And it was like, I don't know, it's like a pinch hitter in baseball. You just show up, do the job, and then sit down again.
Yeah. That's another thing I wanted to ask you. A lot of people leave the show, but after 17 seasons, what was it that made you want to say yes to Degrassi and come back every single time?
It's a phenomenal show from day one. Just the topics and how they handled the issues with so much sensitivity. And, they had moments for humor, which is why Perino got stuck with a lot of that. But it was the context. And I remember we were having a party at Linda's place, and one of the writers and producers, forget it, Matt is his name. We'll just leave it at Matt. And we're talking about it. And I said, you know what? There's a cycle here. There's certain issues that repeat after 3 or 4 years. But what's beautiful about it is that they're different students, how they handle, whatever it is, abortion or assaults or what have you, they would handle it differently every time they approached it, which made it so much fresher. And that's the part I loved about it, was that it was like a different angle on it every time. And mind you, that same writer said, oh, Tom, we're trying to make you having a secret life as a hitman, but it wouldn't fly.
Oh my God. I would absolutely watch that as a spinoff.
That would be, yes, teacher by day, hitman, assassin by night. Wow, I think you're onto something. I hope Linda hears that.
Yes, I'll send her an email. It'll be fine. And speaking of cool Degrassi things, have you ever wanted your own pair of Degrassi socks? Well, you're in luck, because today we're being sponsored by your favorite sockologist, the Purple Moose. The Purple Moose Sock Company is located right here in Canada, and while they feature a variety of brands on their website, their biggest claim to fame is their actually made in Canada sock collection, which is created on vintage production machines. Isn't that cool? They partner with brands who feature Indigenous artists, they have a category called swear words, and best of all, they make Degrassi street socks. You guys can get your hands on them by visiting purplemoosesocks.ca and using code DegrassiKid for 10% off your purchase. All of that will be linked in the description. You can find socks, books, puzzles, toys, tote bags, all kinds of things in all kinds of prints over at the Purple Moose. They say from avocado to zebra, with corgis and llamas in between, and a sprinkle of stripes on top, we have you and your feet covered. And this month, anyone signed up for the Degrassi Kid mail-out tier on Patreon will receive their own pair of Degrassi street socks. You have until November 30th to sign up. Show your support and your Degrassi pride by visiting purplemoosesocks.ca. I wanted to know too, because I connect with my favorite actress from the show and told her what Degrassi means to me. How have you seen the impact of Degrassi? What kind of stories do you hear from fans?
Oh, exactly what your story was. And it's funny, I have followers on Instagram who are Degrassi fans. And in some cases, I have this one particular woman who lives in Arizona or New Mexico. And she said, I watched the show every Friday with my daughter.
Oh my gosh.
And my daughter really identifies with the characters and what they're going through. And, and the mother says, and I like you too. You're eye candy for us parents.
Yes.
So then I go, oh, eye candy. What about my beautiful performance? She said, well, that too. That's what you get is you got a bonding thing with the mother or the parent and the child as they go through what they see. And it's cyclical because I've had fans stop me on the street that they're 35 years old now, or they're 25 or 50. And they talk about, I used to watch that show and it's never left me. I still watch reruns and, various episodes, what happened during this date or what happened with the alcohol or drugs, alcoholic parents, abuse, all that stuff. And it's not like a fluffy little, I don't want to say Disney because they're getting better, but it's not really, I'm sure you talk with Linda. At some parts of the U.S., they just said, no, we can't have that in this state.
Yeah.
But I love what Degrassi did from day one. They were there. They were light years ahead of any other show.
Absolutely.
And the story that I think Aaron Spelling, who was a big Hollywood producer, who did Beverly Hills 90210, he wanted this show. He wanted to buy it from Linda. And they said no.
That's incredible. I heard that, but yeah. I've seen that in a sentence one time, but I've never heard anything about that. That's incredible.
Yeah, and then that's why he created Beverly Hills 90210, which again tells you how great Degrassi is, because Degrassi uses actual kids appropriate age, not a 35-year-old posing as a 16-year-old.
Yes.
And that's the other beauty of it, right? As you know, you come in grade 9, grade 10, grade 12, and grade 12, you graduate.
You graduate, and you're gone.
Bye-bye.
And you're gone.
Which is why I'm there for so long, because I'm,
you're stuck.
I'm illiterate. I never graduated.
That's how I ended up. Well, I found Degrassi Next Generation because it was online, but then my mom was walking by one time when I was watching it, and she said, oh my God, that's Spike. I used to watch the show when I was a kid. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, no, Mom, this is a brand new show called Degrassi. You've never seen it. And she was the one who got me the box sets. And that's what, every time I learned about Degrassi, there was just so much more to it. And then I found out Linda was a teacher. And then I realized that everything was done with a purpose. And then now I'm here so many years later, just fully in love and wanting to share everything I've learned about the show. But I had no idea there was such a history to it. And there was such a point behind it, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I have to ask too, so for fans, Degrassi Next Class, you stayed all the way till the end. For Degrassi, us fans watching the show, it just kind of ended, right? And we got really no news about it. For you, what was that moment like? When did you realize it was over? Because, you got that call 17 times and then now it didn't come. What was that like for you?
It was heartbreaking. It was sad. I grew attached to the show, and I grew attached to the different actors that came and went, the crew. There's some that's been much longer than I have, and there's a familiarity. And when you show up on set, you're the only adult. They gravitate to you because the kids are lovely, but they're focused on what they have to do, so they're limited in terms of socializing. Here comes Tom. He has 5 lines today, but he's always full of jokes, and we chit chat and bond. And that's the part. I'm sure you probably heard this many times. There's a nice feeling, a nice vibe, that the familiarity and this business, that's something that's very precious, because you go from gig to gig and you instantly have to connect. But when it comes to working on a series that goes for so many seasons, you grow attached to each other. And yeah, I miss the wardrobe people. I miss Robin. He's a wardrobe dude. There's some the prop guys who have a collection lightsabers in their room, authentic ones, and little things like that. Bob's a prop guy. He was on another show that I did years ago called Due South, and he played hockey with him. He's on the show, and yeah, there's history and stories.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I know that the reboot is up in the air or whatever, but if they called Mr. Perino back, would you do it?
Yeah, I would do it. No problem. And it'll probably be, Degrassi, the long-term care home.
Yes, exactly. Degrassi senior citizens.
Yeah. Seniors, I'd be there,
That's
No, I'd do it. I'd love it. I'd love it because it's the type of show that's very pertinent today, ongoing, forever.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah, I think it needs to come back. I think this new generation needs it, which makes me want to know, you're familiar with what it's like to parent teenagers. Do your kids watch Degrassi?
Well, I have a son.
Mm-hmm.
He's 12. He'll be 13 soon. No, there are reruns of Degrassi, and if I see one that I'm in, he'll go, "Are you in this one, Dad?" And I'll show him a clip. And particularly with Perino,
Mm-hmm.
because there's that grumpy side, my son will go, "You get paid for being that? You're that here, Dad. You're the same at home. What a life. I want to do that because you get paid for being you."
Yeah. Oh my
I mean, there
God.
are other shows where other shows I'm not like that, and he's in awe and going, "Wow, you're playing a cop, or you're playing this, or a lawyer." But when he sees the Degrassi, he kind of goes, "Oh my God, that's you, Dad. You're grumpy."
That is so cool. I love that. Does he have any dreams of being an actor or anything like that and following his dad's footsteps?
Absolutely. He hasn't articulated it, but he does take improv classes in a theater group Friday nights down here in Toronto. And at school, he does drama. Yeah, he really likes it. He's a clown. He's a ham. He really, really gets it. And sometimes we do improv games together when I pick him up after his class, and I say, "What'd you do?" "Oh, we played the dating game," and then we run it and improvise characters. And he's
Oh my
he's
gosh.
quite the little ham bone. Chip off his dad's block, I guess.
Well, maybe we'll have a future little Perino on the new reboot of Degrassi. That would be amazing.
Oh my God, that is so hysterical.
I would love
And
it.
he can dance. My wife runs 2 dance schools, and he takes tap class, and he's a
Oh my
big
gosh.
boy, and he takes tap and he takes jazz and he improv. So, well, there you go.
There we
you
go.
He's ready.
We got the new generation. I love that. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
going to be looking out for that.
You got it.
One of the things I think that most fans of the next generation would be surprised to know is that you're one of the few people who played 2 characters on Degrassi. In your own words, can you tell us what was your first gig on Degrassi?
I played Jeff the mechanic.
You did.
And that role, I've seen reruns of clips of it. People's posted scenes from it, and it brings back so many memories. It was 1988, I think it was, and giving away my age. I was 3 years old on that show back then. No, no, Linda observed child labor laws. She did, but I was with a Second City Touring Company, which is a comedy troupe. It's world known, and I was doing comedy traveling across the country, and I popped in for an audition. I don't remember. It was probably at the office of Playing with Time Inc., which was at the corner of, I think you were there.
Yeah,
Carl
yeah.
and Queen, because that's where it all began. And I auditioned there, and they brought me in. And what's funny, if you see the scene, I'm wearing my high school hockey leather jacket. That's mine.
Oh,
And
cool.
and I ride a scooter, which was mine. I had the scooter at this time, and they said, "Oh, can you use it? Yeah, you put your helmet on and ride off." And I said, "Okay, it's my bike," and we do it. And they included in the show. And I just remember JD, I think the character name opposite me, was such a sweetheart, as are most of the Degrassi. So soft and so sweet. And I had a connection with her, a very caring, nurturing thing. And I didn't realize I had it in me.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
there I
gosh.
was. And yeah, some people see that episode, they go, "Hey, you look like a young Bruce Springsteen." And I go, "Oh, wow, thank you."
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was a lovely experience, and I know someone who was on the crew, went to university with Judy Shiner, I think, and she
Oh,
was a
yes.
part of Degrassi in terms of training and workshopping some of the kids. Again, a very nurturing environment, and it was so great to be invited. And yeah, I had a good time doing that spot.
That's incredible. I'll give some context for the fans who are listening. Tom was in an episode called Nothing to Fear, where LD's dad, he's a mechanic, he runs an auto body shop, which is where Jeff works. Her dad gets sick and he has to go to the hospital. And LD is struggling with the fact that her mom passed away when she was younger.
Yeah.
So she's associating feelings of the hospital with grief and loss. And Jeff is there to really, like you said, nurture and take care of her and be that supportive father figure while her dad is missing. So the thing I got to know is, how does someone go from playing a one-time character on Degrassi Junior High to coming back years later as a longtime teacher?
Wow, that's a good question. it was fine. I mentioned I was with the Second City Touring Company at the time, which is a theater. And I joined the theater union, and then they got me right into the ACTRA, which was the acting union. And that's what stopped me from coming back. They asked me to come back as Jeff.
Oh, cool.
They wanted me to come back and be recurring. And I said, oh, no, I just joined the union. And at that time, they weren't union. So they said, oh, sorry, Tom. Oh, boo. And yeah, it was too bad. And then that's when they brought me back for Riverdale. That came before Degrassi Next Generation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I did Riverdale. I same thing with Riverdale. I auditioned for one role as a private investigator who lived in a basement in a mall. They liked me and brought me, and they invited me back and said, "Would you like to join us as a recurring regular on the show Riverdale?" And I said, "Okay." And that went amazingly well. That was fun. And then when that shut down, that's when Degrassi came back. And then Linda reached out to me and said, or would you like to come back as a teacher?
Wow.
Yeah. So from mechanic to private eye to a teacher.
You've done it all. You've done it all. Basically just getting connected, making that connection with Linda and the Degrassi team in the 80s. And then it just kept reoccurring over and over again.
Yeah. I guess they liked me.
I can see why.
Well, thank you, Jocelyn. But truth be told, you were down on Degrassi Street itself, right? You visited.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, a couple of blocks over, there's a street called Broadview Avenue. And I was literally born in a house on that street.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't make it to the hospital. I was born there. So I'm a real Degrassi kid.
Oh my God.
I grew up in that part of the city. You know, East Riverdale is called, part of Leslieville.
Wow.
So I guess somewhere along the line, Linda saw that in me. He's like a, Degrassi guy. So there you go.
I love that. The original Degrassi kid.
You got it.
One of the questions that came in from a fan, Sarahjei and Rebecca both wanted to know, I mean, you've been on almost every iteration of Degrassi for so many years. What are the key differences you noticed, Degrassi Junior High, early Next Generation, and Next Class in terms of filming the show? Was there anything you noticed that was significantly different?
I would say the social fabric of the kids.
Ooh.
From the kids of Degrassi, that was me when I was little. Basically, we just had rundown running shoes, ragtag jeans, and t-shirt. And as the show started to evolve, you certainly got another social strata of more, for lack of better words, more affluent kids with designer bags and designer clothes. And that's not to say it doesn't happen in different parts of the city, but it started to evolve. Then you got some kids who live in a mansion with a swimming pool. I don't know where that is in Leslieville. And I thought, okay, there's a nice balance, because there are schools in Toronto that have that balance, that big, vast dichotomy of working class, blue collar, and upper class, and arts, and they mesh. But then with Next Class, I think it was, the school started to get a little shiny for me, and I began to feel uncomfortable, because that's not my vibe.
Yeah.
I'm a little rough around the edges, and to see all that chrome and glass, I think when Netflix took over, hope I don't get in trouble saying that, but when they had the Next Class, it got a little too slick.
Yeah.
But the kids were still there. The kids were still there. They still had heart. They still had the issues to tackle, and there's the humanity. But just the look of the show, to me, was getting a little too shiny. I don't know how it was for the fans, how they accepted it. For me, that was the one thing I noticed. I showed up on set for the Next Class and went, oh, what the heck? Where'd they get $500,000 to renovate the school?
Yeah.
What district school board gave you the money for this?
Yeah. I noticed that as a fan too. And I had struggled with it. I was like, have I just been out of high school long enough that this just doesn't seem realistic? Or do high schools really look like this right now? Right. So, but I had that same opinion of, it felt like, like it became too 90210 a little bit. Like, this is what the dream school looks like with all the rich kids in the pools. But yeah, that's so interesting to hear it from someone who was on the show, because I thought the exact same thing. But then maybe we're both just getting too old and don't remember high school anymore.
No, Jocelyn. We know what's up. The public school only gets so much money. There's no way they would get that much money to renovate like they did at Degrassi.
Yeah, and put beanbag conversation pits. Like, looked cool. I would love to go there, but I agree. Maybe not the most realistic thing to happen. So you had said before earlier that there was some moments that you would show up and film a Perino scene, and some things would end up getting cut. Is there anything you remember being cut from Degrassi that you filmed and were excited about? Then it was like, oh, that never happened.
There was an episode which I filmed a couple of scenes, and then I got a booking on another show called Flashpoint.
Oh, cool.
They couldn't work it out that I could finish my Degrassi episode. So they're gracious, said, no, Tom, don't worry. We'll write you out of this scene. And when I saw the scene, it was very seamless. It had to do with a time capsule. We were burying a time capsule somewhere. I can't remember where. And then the day they buried it, I wasn't there to help them bury it. They,
Yeah, that makes sense.
is it? Because I vanished. I was helping put things in the time capsule, and then, as I recall, I wasn't there when they buried it. So
Yeah, that makes sense because, like I said, I went through and I watched all of the scenes that you were in, and then there was just this random scene where you dig up the time capsule and you say, "You guys remember you wrote your letters," and you hand it to them, and then you walk off, but then there's like no other mention of this time capsule ever. So I was like, "What?" So that makes sense that you just weren't there when they did the rest of it. That's so funny.
yeah, I was at an airport during a hijacking on Flashpoint.
Okay, there are some Degrassi fans who submitted some questions for you that some of them are a lot more interesting than what I came up with.
Wow.
So the very first question we have is from Evie, and she wants to know, are there any bits of backstory for Mr. Perino that either you or the writers came up with to help build your character?
The only one that we could think of was the fact that I had a wife who was pregnant, and that was it. And the pregnancy was a tough time for Perino, which is why he became a grumpy guy. But there wasn't much else there. I mean, I tried coming across like I was into meditation and all that. I wore these little beads
Oh, yeah.
and choker, and then they said, "Nope, get rid of that." I said, "Oh, so I'm not going to be so cool and calm and so zen.
Yeah.
Nope, you're going to be grumpy all the time."
Then you just took over from there and you're like, I got this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Glenn wants to know, did you have a director on set that was your favorite to work with?
Oh, I could get in trouble for this. Well, every director that I worked with was fun. I mean, who is it? Is it Mr. Ernie? Who's it? Henshaw?
Oh, Phil Earnshaw.
Phil Earnshaw. He was awesome. He was great. And I think Bruce McDonald was one guy that we had. Bruce was kind of funky. He really liked my grumpy edge.
I love that.
I think there was a scene where I had to yell at Melinda Shankar, I think it was.
Yeah.
And Bruce encouraged, yeah, scream at her. Just scare her. Just scream at her. Perino, you're really edgy. So he was fun. He gave me that. He recognized my edginess.
That's incredible. They probably used you to yell at them when they couldn't. They were like, we'll just write in a scene where Perino just lashes out on them.
Yeah.
Did you end up working? Because I know Phil started on the original Degrassi. Did you work with him too when you did your Degrassi Junior High episode, or do you remember?
I can't remember who it was. I'm old, Jocelyn. I can't remember. You're bringing up memories for me. But no, I can't remember who the director was back then.
That's fair. I wasn't even born yet, so it was quite a while ago.
Oh, my goodness.
There is a Facebook group called Hey Degrassi, Make This Reboot Count, and they love celebrating the show and talking with fans online. But they want to know, are you like Mr. Perino at all? In what ways are the same, or what ways are you different?
Yeah, I have a grumpy side to me. I do. But I also have a nurturing side to me. I don't know. I do have a sense of humor, apparently, because I did comedy a lot of my time. I don't know if that comes through. That's one side, if anything is missing from my portrayal of Perino, is that I can be funny, you know?
Yeah, there is one line that Perino says that I thought was very hilarious. He's teaching law class, and he says, he walks in, it's the first day of school, and he goes, "Is it illegal to look this good? Let's find out in grade 11 law." That I love.
Oh, yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah, I remember that. That's right. A friend of mine quoted that. She said she was watching, she laughed her head off.
Yeah.
And I think another line that I had comedic moment, was with the Yoko Ono.
Oh,
when
yeah.
Delmar were talking about they're fighting over the same girl.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, you had a Yoko Ono." And they went, "What? Yoko Ono? She break up the Beatles?" I go, "What's that?" "Don't worry, we'll come together." And I went, "What?" It's we can work it out. They were quoting lyrics from Beatles songs, and
they just weren't getting it. I think there was some moments Mr. Perino had humor, but I think he was just so terrifying all the time that maybe kids were afraid to laugh.
Oh my God, this is terrible. That's something you talk about, that first episode, that episode I did where I was really mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was at a grocery store and I felt I was being stared at. And I looked across the aisle at another cashier, and there was a mother there with her daughter, and her daughter looking at me with daggers. And this was after that episode aired, where I was bullying Mark Donato. Yeah. And the mother kept saying to her daughter, "It's only a TV show, honey. It's only a TV show."
Oh my God.
So yeah, I guess I was terrifying.
You played it well. Sam Bethel has a very interesting question. She wants to know, if there was a cage match fight between Mr. Simpson, Mr. Armstrong, and Mr. Perino, who would win it?
Wow. Well, I'd be the first to be out of there. I'd run out of the cage and I'd let those two settle it. And then when they beat themselves silly, I'd jump down and say, "I survived." That's a funny question.
Riley submitted a question, and we had kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but Mr. Perino is part of some huge moments on the show. Like in Perino's class, Emma realizes she has gonorrhea, Goldie experiences racism, Lola reveals during a presentation that she had an abortion. Riley wants to know, what does it feel like for you to know that you're a part of these big episodes that mean a lot to the people who watch it?
Well, you don't know it when it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's only, I mean, as an actor, you're in the moment and you don't know where you have to be open and present. And it's only after the fact that you walk away and go, wow, that was like impact. I mean, I remember the one where I think it was the next class. We're talking about parts of the country, the parts of the world where there was terrorists. And I happened to say something really stupid and it came off misinterpreted, but I had to stay with it and realize I was an integral part of a learning moment for everyone, and Mr. Perino included.
Yeah.
And it's something I thought, this is the way we do it. It's a learning moment for everyone involved. No one's immune. We all put our foot in their mouths and we all have to be open to learning and say ignorant things. Not on purpose, but it just happens. And as moments like that where I realize, I had no idea. I had no idea until after the fact that this is something that's really impactful, particularly impactful to open young minds such as Degrassi fans.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's that moment where Mr. Perino is talking about immigration.
Yeah.
And he asks a student, where are you from? And she says, I'm from here. But that's the thing is there's, one of the questions people always ask me is, what's a character on Degrassi you don't like? And sure, there's some that I wouldn't have wanted to go to high school with, but every character, even if they're awful, even if they bring a gun to school, even if they bully someone, they're a catalyst for those stories and represent something that happens in the real world. So, all the time people make mistakes like that and they have to be educated for it. And I think that's one of the good things of Perino, right? It's like sometimes he's a bad guy, but those people exist and kids get to see, well, how do you handle it if someone says that to you or treats you that way or yells at you as a teacher? So even bad characters, they need to be at Degrassi, right? That's the real world.
Yeah. And I mean, I hope that, some people I've met some fans who said, we love to hate you. and I've seen people write down that, he's a bit of a hard ass, but at the same time, he cares. And I hope that came through, that I was looking to be, tough love.
Yeah.
I hope that came through.
Yeah.
I had a teacher in 7th, 8th grade who I based Perino on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Over the years, as Perino developed, I thought of this man. And I remember he was a grumpy guy in grade 7 and 8, grumpy. But on 2 separate occasions, I saw the soft side of him. I hurt myself in the schoolyard. I had a knee that was ripped up. He took me into his office and carefully addressed the wound and put medication on it. He was so gentle, and I was like, wow. And then one time he was the assistant coach of our hockey team, and he was driving us to a game. It was winter, it couldn't defog the windshield, so he would say, "Stop breathing, everybody! You're fogging up the windshield." And I saw he had a humorous side, and there was times he gave me advice as a hockey player that really worked. And people saw him as a grump. He had bushy eyebrows and very intimidating, but I saw the soft side of him and the humorous side of him. And that's what gave me license to continue doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I know it's not a major thing, but as an actor, I said, you know what? I'm going to stick to this character and I'm going to try to find moments where I show humor, show humanity. And, as you say, those people exist.
Yes, exactly. I know that if I had Perino in school, I would feel like maybe I couldn't talk in class or pass notes. I should be a little extra careful, but I would know that if I needed something, like I needed help with an assignment, Perino seems like absolutely that guy. He just wants to focus on your education and make sure that you're understanding the material and paying attention to it. So I think he was a great teacher. I think maybe one day he just got a little angry.
That's so true.
Amazing. Those are the questions. Would you be interested in playing some Degrassi trivia now that we've sparked your memory of being on Degrassi?
I'm going to be horrible at it, but let's do it. Let's find out.
If you think you have whatever it takes to beat Mr. Perino at some Degrassi trivia, you can head on over to patreon.com/DegrassiKid and play right along. And of course, before we say goodbye to Tom, I want to say a huge thank you to our newest Patreon supporters, Shane Worrell, Kirsten Mitchell, and Kendra Claiborne, who all signed up to make my dreams come true. And to Joey Cooper, who signed up for the Degrassi Kid mail-out tier. He can expect some Degrassi Street socks from the Purple Moose very, very soon. But for now, let's check back in with Tom Melissis and see what the real Mr. Perino is up to these days. Well, that is all we have for the Degrassi Kid podcast. Tom, what are you up to these days? Where can people find you?
Wow.
How can people connect with Tom Melissis?
Okay, well, I'm on Instagram, but also over the last few years, up until COVID, I was doing a lot of live dinner theater, which was
Mm.
fine. Murder mystery type of thing, which was funny because sometimes during the show, live audience, I would be in disguise as a character, and then I'd reveal myself to be a police detective, whatever. And sometimes I'd hear people in the audience go, "Oh my God, it's Perino," which was fun. I did that for a while, and I've been teaching. I've been teaching a lot at a local college, and occasionally I've done some TV movies. One was called Revenge Delivered on Lifetime.
Ooh.
It's a murder thriller, suspense thriller. I play a doctor in a maternity ward. And one I just completed, which is a little more lighter. It's a comedy. It's called One in a Million, where again I play a doctor at a fertility clinic, and there's some comedic moments there. That's on Lifetime. That's yet to be released. And I'm teaching, and I'm with my son a lot of the time. That's
Oh
what
my
I'm up to these
God.
days.
That's amazing. I love that. I know I whenever you were doing the dinner theaters, I wanted so bad to go to one. And then of course COVID happened and I would never get to do one, but hopefully someday in the
Oh
future.
yeah, yeah. There were some Degrassi fans that showed up to those shows, and
I think even Sarah Fisher, who was on Degrassi, didn't she show up to one of your shows?
yeah, Sarah Fisher was there one night. We took a picture with her and her boyfriend, and Charlotte.
Oh yes.
Charlotte was there once, and I think those are the two. And then there's some Degrassi fans that show up, and yeah, it's a buzz doing live theater and having people in the audience that know you from your television work. It's and that just to
Mm-hmm.
see how they respond to it. Because I drop a Degrassi joke. I would say like, "Oh no, that was back in the days when I went to Degrassi."
Oh
You
my
know, trying to
God.
defend myself. You know, and they sort of get a chuckle out of it.
That's incredible. I love that. Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming to the Degrassi Kid podcast. You know, if you had to give a grade to your experience on the Degrassi Kid podcast, what are you thinking?
A+.
Woo! I was
Yeah.
hoping you'd say that. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. And I'll see you around.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Take care. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Whatever it takes.
Thank you so much to all my supporters on Patreon who made this interview possible. There's a lot of research, time, and effort that goes into preparing, filming, and editing these podcasts, and I quite literally couldn't do it without all of your help. Extra love goes out to Stevi, who is not only my #1 supporter on Patreon, but also in real life. So thank you, Stevi. And of course, thank you to Annabelle, Alyssa, Annie C, and Annie M, the 2 Brittney Bs, Chrissy, Dave, EclareFiomogen, Evie, Glenn, the Hey Degrassi, Make This Reboot Count Facebook page, Holly J. Wonders, Juliet Joey, Kimberly Cat, Westbridge Slim, Max, Najama, Owen, Rachel, Randy, Rebecca J, and Rebecca from the Trail Mix podcast, Riley, Sam C, Sam B, and SB, Shane, Shelby, Sierra, Steven, Susan, Teal, and Victoria. You guys are the best. So I wish you all the best of luck on your history exams, and I'll see you next time with a brand new Degrassi guest. Bye, guys.